Hey everybody, this is Vincent and Valerie Woodard, and we got called out on Facebook by our good friends Megan and Malcolm Eatman, and they had a great discussion about how they stayed married for, I believe it was 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they called us out, that same question applies to us, to how do we stay married. In our case, it's 20 years. And so let's talk about it. And I said, my wife said, are we going to do it? I was like, yeah, it should be fun because, we always hang out with each other, but it's good to be able to share a little bit of our journey. I'm not going to take too much time, but a little bit of our journey with my friends and family. So, let's answer the question. Do our best. How do we stay married for 20 years?
Hmm.
You want to go first?
You go first. You got
Hey,
it.
um, well, 20 years, I would say that, first of all, I love my wife. And I love her from the first time I saw her. A lot of people don't say that. I was Google Gaga, Um, but throughout time, you have to make sure that it's not about the affection, not about the looks, even though she's a beautiful woman. But I learned very quickly that I didn't know what I was doing. I tell my wife all the time I was practicing on her because I did not
Yeah.
know what I was doing. Um, and I
Yeah.
learned very early that I think Megan pointed out that you need God. You need God first.
Mm.
He has to be the first and foremost. It has to be like a triangle. It has to be God at the top. Even above your marriage. A lot of people don't even want to admit that. And above your kids and above yourself, it has to be God first. Then
Yeah.
it has to be you. It has to be you. You have to make yourself a better person. I had to work on me because I was trying to first just go into the marriage, work on the marriage, and then I got frustrated, so I was like, quit. I give up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. I'm right. I can't do it. So I had to work on me, and then we had to work on us. Us has to be second or third in that whole line right there. And then after that is all the other stuff, your kids, your family, your mother, your brother, your sister, your friends, your family, your job. And if you get that line going, I think you get yourself in a great direction. Make sure you keep God first. Because you just not, even how many books you read about marriage, you're just not going to know all the twists and turns that can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
and I have to put this in there. I don't know. My wife knew I was going to say this, but you have to stay sexual. You have to stay active. You have to love your wife.
Yep.
You have to. It's something that God allows us to enjoy. So, and you spend time with her. I love coming home. I love seeing her. Before we talk about anything about the world today, we say, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" That's the first thing we say. We want to see, check the temperature, of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, I don't know if that was three, but those are my must-haves in the order of how do we stay married for 20 years. So, baby, give us your thoughts.
Okay. So your answers are God and sex.
No, it wasn't that like
I'm
it
just
was in there.
trying.
It was in there.
Okay.
God, me, us,
us together.
us
All
together.
right. Okay. All right. So I'm just teasing him, but that is very important that you stay connected, spiritually, which is putting God first. You have to take care of yourself spiritually first. Then you take care of one another. And then you come together and you join to do things with one another, for your family, to accomplish your goals, et cetera, et cetera. One thing I like to say when people talk to me about marriage, or they want to be married, or they ask about marriage, is I tell them it's not for the selfish,
Mm,
and it's not for the faint of heart,
mm-hmm.
because you have to consider the other person in marriage. Not sometimes, but always.
Right.
You always have to think about the other person. It doesn't mean you're
Mm-hmm.
always going to get it right, that you're never going to upset them, you're never going to hurt their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, because we do still bump into each other
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but we have decided after trying to get out of this marriage a couple of times that it is not what we should do. It's not really what we wanted to do, but just that it got really difficult. And the key to bringing it back together has always been the Lord. It's always been submitting to what's right, not who's right. God is right. It's his opinion on the matter that matters. And so that means regardless of how I feel about the situation, I need to check myself against the mirror of God's word, you know, and vice versa. Yes, he's supposed to love me like Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. And yes, I am to submit to him. You said try to submit to him?
I said I do. And I said,
oh, okay. and I do try to submit to him.
Christ, he was one of a kind. You know?
Well, there was only one Christ. But yes, but also submitting to him in such a way that is not giving up my identity and my autonomy, but just allowing myself to be in the position where I'm comfortable with how much he loves me, to the point that I trust the decisions that he would want to make. And if there's something that I don't agree with, we talk about that. And he has said oftentimes that it's listening to the wisdom of his wife sometimes that guides him in what to say or not to say or do, because we are to work together as one. I do believe that you have to stay active in doing things together. We go out once a month.
Yep.
Every month we take the first Friday and it's just us, and we do whatever we want to do. We find new things to do, and sometimes it's just to stay home because we're exhausted and tired from the week. And sometimes we go out and explore, and you got to keep it fun. And for those of you that are young, our children are adults now. Our baby will be 21 in July. And we're cool with that.
Yeah.
We got a grandbaby and we love him. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But we wanted
to... nesters almost.
Yeah, almost.
I'm not rushing you, Kira.
That's right. We love you, Kira, if you're watching this. Yeah. So spend that time together, because when those kids are gone, you still need to be friends. You still need to look at each other and like each other. And that's the other thing. I like him. I like my husband. We're kind to each other. We try to be kind to each other, and it hasn't always been easy. So don't let us fool you. There was some stuff that we had to work through individually with our relationship with God before we could really get solid and really get past the idea of talking about divorce if things ever got difficult. The last thing I want to say is to finish the point about the children. For those of you that are young and have children, do not make your children the center of your world. No. Do not make your children the center of your world. Do not make your husband or your wife the center of your world.
That's right.
God has to be the center. And then comes the marriage, and then comes the children and work and family and church and all those other things.
That's right.
Because we are really joined together. We're really fitly joined together. And you will find out just how joined together you are, whether you think it, you feel it, or you believe it or not. When things start to fall apart, you really have got to rip yourself away from that other person in order to separate. And although you think, well, this is me and this is her.
A clean break, no such thing.
There's no such thing as a clean break. It's a really super nasty rip, tear, wound that comes when marriages start to fall apart. So...
yeah, I mean,
God first.
Yeah, God first. And I see it like a triangle. Didn't really get the description, quite right. But in my picture, in my mind, it's like a triangle. So you have God at the top, and then we're on the side. So I have a vertical relationship with God, and she has a vertical relationship with God. And then so we're like this, and then at the bottom of that, after God,
we meet in the middle.
And then her, me. Then it's all the other stuff, And I'm not saying that we don't love family, we don't love our children, none of that. I'm just saying you have to have a foundation and start from the top. The top is God, our marriage, and then life.
Yeah. We learned that in marriage counseling.
Yes.
Long time ago.
Yes.
Long time ago.
So, and also get some good material, read. Like I said, I'm practicing on my wife. I'm trying to learn, you know, but it was good to get some materials. I brought some stuff that I learned. One of the key books that I read is called Kingdom Man by Tony Evans. He's a great pastor out of Texas, I believe. And he also wrote a book called Kingdom Marriage, which is a really good book. So just get some materials, guys. Remember, you know, you're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but, you know, stay committed to it. Malcolm said a great thing. Make up your mind.
Yeah.
Just make up your mind. We're not going to get a divorce. You know, we even said we're just going to stop fighting. You know?
Yeah, fighting is not an option for us anymore.
Yeah, it's like when you feel it getting to that point, it's like, no, we're not fighting. No. Remember, okay, take a time out, take a break, you know, and come back and discuss it. All those things are things that, you know, God has shown us, and also we learned over time. So, are we gonna call anybody outside of we?
We should.
Ah, okay.
How about Monica and Craig Adams?
Phyllis and Isaac
Ross. They're not really internet people, but maybe they'll do it. Yeah. What about Mac and Rose Hall?
Oh, let's go. There you go. Mac and Rose Hall. Yeah, so there you go. You've been called out. Keep it going, y'all. This was fun. It was a great conversation. And just kind of got your mind thinking about, wow, 20 years, you know. But, it's a long time. It's a long time. But it's
not really a long time.
Just keep it going, you know. Yeah. We keep going. We got some people we got to catch up with. You know, well, I guess they'll be dead if we catch up with them. Anywho. We love y'all.
Never mind that.
We love y'all. Thanks for watching. And I'll share. Maybe it'll help somebody. All right. God bless.
Love y'all.